With over 30 years of doing this, I've restrung and tuned guitars more times than I can count. So in this video, we're going to restring an acoustic guitar and tune it. If you feel confident that you know all the things that I'm going to do in the restringing, you can skip to this time and take a look at just the tuning. There's plenty in there. Let's dive right into it. First off, get some strings. I got these at World of Music in Erie, Pennsylvania, my favorite music store. You can do all of this without tools. Usually I'll have a Leatherman around, but needle nose pliers I think are going to be very, very helpful. I got this as a holiday present ages ago. Basically, it's got a string winder and just a real simple little clipper. You can do all this by hand, obviously, but I'm going to be using these two tools. I can do this. These two tools specifically for this one. They're going to make it a lot easier. The other thing, just get your space set up. I don't know why, we tend to be kind of lazy about this. All you really need is your guitar kind of flat. I'm just using some 2x4 cutoffs here to just hold it up and have a space where you can lay it down so you're not trying to hold it. Things are just going to go a lot easier. Now on this one, I've broken the high E when I was tuning it back up. And these pegs, and I have a very complex relationship, I've broken them before with pliers or something. When you're trying to wiggle them, you wiggle them too much and the top comes off. Before I even try to do that these days, I take the string and I make sure that I can actually depress it down inside below the peg. The string has been pulling in. It could be caught in the peg and in the wood, and it can be really difficult to pull the peg out, even if you've completely unwound on that side. So I make sure that the string can go down beneath, and I usually will use some pliers because it's hard to get a good grip on it, but just don't rock it back and forth. Try to pull it straight out, and these things roll off your table. Receptacle for my stuff while I'm working on this. The other thing that is an obvious pain when you're dealing with these types of things is, what do I do with this thing? They'll get stuck in your feet and your cat's paws and stuff. And I just roll them up nice and tight, set them aside. Usually I'll keep something to hold them down. So I'm going to just keep taking these strings off. So that's the last of the strings. Guitars, one of the reasons I love them is they're so portable. They're great to take them with you, but they get full of stuff. They get pretty gross pretty quick. So take the opportunity to just clean it down, wipe it down when you got the strings off. I'm not doing anything special here, just a damp napkin just to kind of get the areas clean that you don't see too often. There's always a good amount of gunk in between frets. But seriously, everywhere your fingers have probably been on here. Let's clean up something that is this important and can be this helpful in your life. Let's keep it clean and looking good and behaving well as best we can when we have these opportunities. Now I'm ready to start putting the strings on. I'll lay them out in order, low E to high E, and I now have my little garbage. For some reason, musicians don't like to clean up after themselves. I am not one of those musicians. I like my space to be tidy, and it creates a lot of room in your mind to be creative, and you don't have to worry about cleaning up. So just go ahead and get ahead. As I take a string out, I'll turn its package envelope upside down, and I just start kind of by stubbing them in and getting them reasonably tight. Get it in close enough. I want it to be able to spool, but I need to keep a little bit of pressure here so that the peg doesn't slip too much. So what I usually do is I'll hold it relatively tight around the first fret with my left hand, get it so that there's enough room to spool but not too much. I'm going to tighten it just a hair, and then as it comes around I make sure that this string that's poking out is going to wind up above it. So I'm going to use the winder here and try to keep that low so that as this spins around, starts to go taut. There's a couple ways we can keep it taut. I often hold it kind of like this so it's taut on both ends, and then I can tighten one side up. I usually try to keep it nice and low. I'm not even trying to get it in tune right now, but I am going to still stretch it out a little bit. I'll do this with each of the strings. You'll see me use this, where I'll use like a thumb and a finger. Sometimes I do it in the other direction and just get a little bit of stretch and try to get it to stretch to its natural position, both in the nut and on the peg. Just get something kind of light tone in there. And continue that for all the strings. Scissors for this, but it gets more difficult with the lighter strings if you're just using scissors. So this tool can be really handy for that. Or, you know, the needle nosers will work as well. Or if you got tin snips or wire clips or something like that. And the guitar has been strung, but is not tuned yet. Let's take a look at what I do for that. And after all that, all that's really left to do is tune the thing. Now, I don't mind the Snark tuners. I love them. Actually, I bought a pack of 10 of them last year for what? One of them would have cost 10 years ago. They're great. They'll get you in tune. There's apps that you can use. For my money, there's nothing better than the tuner pedals that are in my signal path. But these things work great. And what I usually do is tune every other string, especially when I'm on an electric and I use a Bigsby, so it's floating tremolo. The tension of one string affects another. Now I'm going to get it pretty close, and I'm going to show some other techniques that I use all the time, because people learn to tune by ear doing this. And you can't hear the note you're trying to tune to while you're tuning. You can hear my radiator in the background in this Airbnb right now. If you're not worried about getting an exact tune, but just a good tune, like, you know, good enough for rock and roll is the saying that we use sometimes, you can play the 5th fret harmonic of one string and the 7th fret of the next. And get better harmonic there. That works all the way up through the G string. And then 7th fret of the low E and the open B. 5th fret of the low E and the open high E. So again, to get a nice, quick, dirty, get my guitar in pitch, I'm just going to play around the campfire by myself. 5th, 7th, 5th, 7th, 5th, 7th, and then I'll do 7th fret on the low E and open B, and then 5th fret on the open high E. A little bit more accurate way of doing that is to do the 12th fret and then the 7th. The 5th fret is not as accurate as the 12th for tuning. And I'll still do the B string, but I'll do 7th fret on the low E and the 12th fret on the B. And I'll do the 7th fret on the high E. Now another thing that I would do a lot if you want to tune to the 5th fret or the 4th fret for the G is I would fret one string as a hammer on and then play the other string with my other finger. That way you can still hear both of the notes. I guess the other thing that I always do is stretch the strings out. Once I get them in tune, I just kind of run a finger up and down the string while, just a couple fingers up and down the fretboard while I'm kind of stretching out my right hand. I don't do it too hard, but we'll see. It'll be pretty out of tune when I come back. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and use the actual tuner. will say I see people like complain about guitarists walking around with tuners on and playing shows with tuners on. It's like, hey, I'm more worried about how my instrument sounds and how it looks. So I'm happy to have a tuner on if it means that I can get into tune quicker as I need to. So this is part of a longer series that I'm doing on the guitar, so make sure you like and subscribe if you're digging it. If I missed any tips and tricks that you know, please drop them in the comments and let me know what's going on. We'll see you around. Cheers.